Welcome to the tokenized economy. Here is today's explainer on why basic token standards are not enough for regulated financial markets.
So, if tokenizing real-world assets is such a great idea, why isn't everything tokenized already? Well, to really get it, we need to do a quick refresh on the foundational building blocks of the digital asset world. Let's dive in. First up, you've got the workhorse, ERC-20. This is the standard for anything fungible. All that means is that each token is identical to the next, just like $1 bill is the same as any other dollar bill. It just sets the basic rules for how these tokens are moved around and tracked. Simple and effective.
Then you've got ERC-721. You definitely know this one. It's the standard that gave us NFTs. This one is all about uniqueness. Each token is a one-of-a-kind, which is how we can track ownership of unique digital things, whether that's art, collectibles, or even a digital deed.
And then there's ERC-1155, which is kind of a hybrid, the best of both worlds. It's a multi-token standard, so it lets you manage both your fungible tokens and your NFTs all in a single efficient contract. It's perfect for something like a video game, where you might have thousands of identical health potions, but also one unique legendary sword.
So these standards are absolutely incredible for building in an open, permissionless digital world. But this brings us to the million-dollar question. What happens when we try to take this powerful tech and plug it into the highly structured, rule-heavy world of traditional finance?
And that brings us right to the heart of the matter, the regulation challenge. This is where the wide-open innovation of token standards runs smack into the wall of real-world financial laws.
Here's the thing you have to understand. In regulated capital markets, you can never just send an asset to anyone you want, whenever you want. There are strict rules. So the whole idea of a free and open transfer, which is a key feature in crypto, well, it becomes a huge problem in regulated finance.
This creates what we can call a critical compliance gap. Those foundational standards we just talked about are fantastic, but they just weren't designed with the built-in controls that financial markets absolutely rely on.
So what are these missing ingredients? We're talking about things like Know Your Customer, KYC, and anti-money laundering AML checks, verifying who people are. Markets also need to check if an investor is even eligible to buy a certain asset or follow rules based on where people live. These basic token standards have none of that built in.
And this really boils it down to the fundamental difference. A standard like ERC-20 defines how an asset moves. It's the plumbing, the technical mechanics. But regulated finance is all about if that asset is legally allowed to move in the first place. It's a question of permission, not just mechanics.
And believe me, this isn't just a theoretical problem. It's a massive real-world roadblock when you want to tokenize things like bonds, or shares in a fund, or company stock. All of those things are governed by incredibly strict rules.
So what are the big institutions doing about this? Well, they're not just sitting around waiting for new technology, they're actively building bridges to get across this compliance gap. Let's see how. They're tackling this in two main ways. First, they can use permissioned blockchains, which are basically private, members-only networks. But what's more common is that they're building extra compliance layers right on top of the basic token. Think of it like putting a digital bouncer on the token itself, checking an ID and a guest list before it lets the token move anywhere.
And all this adaptation is actually leading to a really important evolution in how we think about tokenization. It's way more than just a clever tech fix. It's a fundamental shift in perspective.
We started this whole journey absolutely thrilled by the idea of programmable assets, tokens with business logic coded right into them.
But where the industry is really heading now, the real game changer is the shift towards programmable compliance. Instead of just programming the asset, we're programming the rules that govern the asset. We're embedding the entire legal and regulatory rulebook right into the digital infrastructure. And that really brings us to this final thought, which just sums it all up perfectly. In the world of finance, the mechanics of how an asset moves is only one piece of the puzzle. Figuring out if it's allowed to move is just as critical, maybe even more so.
Now, this whole challenge is precisely why new security token standards had to be created, and we'll be exploring those in our next explainer. If you found this useful, be sure to subscribe for more deep dives on blockchain, tokenization, and financial markets. And please let us know in the comments if you have questions or other topics you want us to cover. We'll see you next time.